Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay, here to talk some Packers this morning as we're getting set for this matchup in the wild card round. Packers, Eagles in Philly, going to be a hostile environment. Going to be a lot of fun watching this thing unfold. Tim, I see you sipping the diesel this morning, bro. How we doing?
Good morning.
Very well said. Very well
Thank
said.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So my morning has been quite the adventure. You guys know we're battling some symptoms over here. I told Tim I'm going to wake up about 20 minutes early, try to hack some of this out of my lungs, right? Get a little medicine in me to kill the sore throat pain, and we're going to get on here and try to talk for about an hour. As soon as I wake up, look outside, we got, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of snow on the ground. Phone blows up. Contracts I got with local businesses to clear parking lots. Can you come clear our lawn? One of them. Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Scrapers won't touch it. Tim, you know about that. You're in Green Bay. They ain't going to touch that little snow. So,
Yep.
Long story short, about 15 minutes after rolling out of the bed, I'm standing in a parking lot and at about 18 degrees, blowing off snow, throwing salt down. So here we are. We came sliding in the parking lot sideways and made it for the show. It cracks me up, man. I got to be honest with you. Watching grown men walk out of a warm office building with their little North Face jackets on, zipped up. They need the parking lot blown off just enough where they can walk to their 4x4 pickup truck. Oh, my God, bro. It makes me want
They're 4x4 pickup trucks that have no scratches, that have never seen mud or nothing.
Run it through the car wash 3 times a week. Oh, yeah. Love it. I'll tell you, man. But, hey, that's 2025, Tim. That's what we signed up for, baby. We're here. We're in it.
That's okay.
It's not okay, but I'm with you.
It's okay, but it's okay.
Nick McSwain in the chat. Jeff Hafley said they were working with Cooper, and we could expect him to be doing some new things. What do y'all think they're going to do with him? Nick, I'm not 100% sure, but I will say this. There's nothing they're going to do with him that we haven't seen before, right? It could have been Hafley throwing a smoke screen, possibly. Could it be him just throwing his hand in the dirt and rushing as an edge defender? I think that's possible, although I'm not excited about that. I would rather keep using him the way we are than just throw him down and now the defense knows, oh, Hark, okay, he's just going to rush the passer. We don't have to worry about him.
We saw that once on Sunday. We had a play. He did rush off the edge and got too far deep behind the well and missed. But we did see it once.
And that's the whole point is like no matter what it is they're doing, Nick, it's nothing that hasn't been done in the NFL before, right? Unless he's going to line up as cornerback. I hope that doesn't happen. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. But I know he's a dynamic player, and I'm excited for whatever they unveil with him, and I think he's going to do it well. He's proven that time and time again this year. As many people are releasing their all-rookie teams, and the names I'm seeing on there is Edgerrin Cooper in the middle and then Evan Williams at safety, which is really cool to see. I think it was ML Football put one out. And listen, like PFF did their all-pro team. As a matter of fact, we'll jump into it right quick. They're picking their all-pro team, and they've got Zach Thomas and all-pro. Now, that's obviously, to the best of my understanding, this isn't in correlation with an actual all-pro team. I think that's going to come a little later and hasn't been announced yet, I would imagine. I don't know about you, Tim. I don't keep up with this stuff too much. I'm more about X's and O's, scheme, and are we winning the Lombardi or not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I glance, I see it. I don't look for stuff like this, but it is pretty cool to see Zach Tom being getting some recognition, though. That's awesome.
It really is, man. And again, we know PFF has always been high on Zach Tom since he came in the league. So this isn't like a huge surprise, but again, Zach Tom's one of the best right tackles in the game of football. I keep talking about, you'll overpay for great, never overpay for good, right? And that's Bill Walsh 101 in building a roster and building an organization. So with Zach Tom, even though he's not that tier 1 position of importance at left tackle, when you got a player that's borderline elite, some would say he's elite. He's definitely great. you're willing to overpay. You need to lock that dude up. That's one of these guys you're probably going to look back in 10 years and go, he's in the running for a Hall of Fame, So that's somebody you do got to lock up for sure here. So
yep. Drew D in the chat, Creed Humphrey at center. Yep. The one that got away, right, Clay?
The one that got away. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay. So Josh Vallandigham in the chat. I can't wait for this rematch with the Eagles. It's going to be a great game. And even if we lose, the future is looking great for this team. Could not agree more, Josh. Could not agree more. And listen, that's going to tick people off. I understand that. Fan how you want to fan. I try to fan in a very realistic manner. It is what it is. You got the youngest team in the league. You've got a first-year defensive coordinator. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't see people lining up at the gates saying the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. There might have been a couple Pickett.
There might have been some guy on this podcast that was saying that.
But I know this
guy.
Well, listen, Tim. As a fan, you can say whatever you want to say. I'm talking about these people that get paid to be experts.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It didn't seem like there was a lot of people going, this is Packers year. They're going to win it. They're going to win it. They're going to win it. There may have been a few.
Yeah.
Now, can they win it? Absolutely. We've said it over and over and over again. I think they have as much chance as anyone. But and what that means, guys, is the Super Bowl window is open. It's wide open. There's no two ways about that.
You beat the Eagles on Sunday. You're the hottest team in the NFL. Just like that. Boom.
Yep. Now you've got the momentum rolling through the playoffs. So it's going to be an uphill battle. There's no doubt about it. And we kind of talked about it. And we're going to try to relive some of those moments from week one against the Eagles. The big knock on the Packers has been they can't beat the good teams this year, right? But one thing about it, they were in every one of those games, including the Eagles. So, and again, the point spread, I think it started around 3 points, 3.5, and it's up to 4.5 now that the Eagles are favorites. Now, people see that and they go, oh, crap. Now, remember, we talked about the Vegas line. This is why we do this every year. It finally happened in week 18. You look up and you go, man, 90-some% of the money is on the Packers to win. They just took the money line, right? Well, guess what happened? The Packers get beat by the Bears, and all those odds, that extra cash that people threw to get that juice on that game to have the Packers as the money line, went right into Vegas. And this is the perfect example of what I say, that there's a reason that Vegas can afford to hand out those free drinks with the pretty little umbrellas. That's it right there. So if you take that 4.5 point spread, what that tells me is there's a good chance it's going to be close, right? I think the Packers are going to come out and we're going to play our best ball. It just sucks we're down so many starters. Being down Jair, huge blow. Being down Christian Watson, huge blow. If you get even the rest of those guys back healthy, Evan Williams, Quay Walker, Romeo Dobbs, and Zane Anderson, as well as Jordan Love, and obviously Watson's out, but it's still you're going to be down a few starters. It's going to be tough to overcome this on the road. But again, what do we always say? Defense and running game travels, right? The passing game typically struggles on the road. Well, if that's the case, Tim, what should we do?
Run the damn ball.
And not just that doesn't mean like, hey, let's just run it every time. But I'll tell you what it does mean to me, Tim, and you tell me if you disagree. It means when you're in a short down situation, let's try to pick it up on the ground. Let's see if we can punch that thing right in there between the tackles and pick it up. So one thing that you will have in this Bears game as well, or this Eagles game as well, that you didn't have in the Bears game is the fact that Josh Jacobs will be playing the entire game, right? Obviously, we pulled him after 6 rushes. If he's in that game, you probably end up winning that game too, to be honest with you. So,
yeah.
All right. Should be a good one, though. Packers Kingdom in the chat says, I think Love will play better with the chip on his shoulder, and he will elevate this offense. Matt needs to coach like his rent got to get paid, and I like my chances with Heath and Dobbs. I mean, they're great possession receivers. One thing I noticed going back watching the tape from week 1, just taking a quick glance at it, where the crossers were butt naked through the trailer park. So look for some crossing routes, and that's one of the weak spots of Vic Fangio's defense, right? When you play too high shell, middle field open. That's what that means, right? When you play single high, middle field closed. Now, people think that means you're taking a shot down the seam. No, that means you're stretching those two safeties vertically with your stem and then breaking off across the middle. Deep digs, like that hammer, whatever, people call it different things, somewhere around a 15-yard in route. And Jaden Reed on the crossers, look for that. If I remember correctly, Jaden Reed hit on 1 or 2 deep crossers in week 1 in Brazil. So look for that. in attacking that defense. Jen Wright in the chat says, I've been listening to the legacy of the Packers this morning. It's given me new optimism. Man, that if you're talking about the legacy documentary that the Packers put out on YouTube, it is phenomenal. It is unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, you could start with episode 1 and walk it all the way up through the Super Bowl. It is just, man, Tim, have you seen it? I mean, you've seen it. Yeah, we watched it a bunch of times. We highlighted it last offseason on this show, and it is just phenomenal, man. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go watch that. That's one of those, put it on episode 1,
let it ride.
And just hang out, just chill. Forget Netflix. Go legacy and chill instead of Netflix and chill. So,
absolutely.
Josh Martin with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Says, any update on Hurts? Is he still in protocol? I haven't heard anything, but we probably need to start combing through the Philadelphia Eagles Twitter followers and things like that. I bet if I went and searched right now, we could probably find something. So let me move on.
I believe he is still in the protocol.
Is that right?
I don't think he's been cleared yet.
Yeah. So this right here, we got the Bears fans, they're running their victory laps because they beat us. And again, thank you for the super chat there, Josh Martin. Appreciate you. I had to create this as a meme, some time ago. So I just brung it out of the vault. As this guy said, here's another angle of the final score of the game. The Packers lost. And I had to hit him with this one.
Oh, no, I'm about to have this whole space lit. Is that a hit? Yeah, look at this right here. Huh? If we're going to be here, we're going to be here, man.
There it is. For those of you on the pod, it's basically just showing how many times the Packers have beaten the Bears this year, or this, what it really is like the last 10 years is what it pulled up there. So
that was a cool one underneath here. This ML football.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love with the fastest throw in the history of the league, 61.9 mile per hour on that dart to Tuck Norris. How about that? You like apples? How about them apples?
It's pretty wild, man. That is just, unbelievable. 61.98. And again, the tweet says, insane. This throw by Packers quarterback Jordan Love is the fastest thrown in NFL history, 61.98 miles per hour against the Houston Texans this season. One of the craziest throws in league history. Now, keep in mind, that's next-gen stats. There's going to be people come out of the woodwork and say, my grandpappy said that Arnie Herbert threw 182. I got you. I understand. We're going off of –
Uncle Rico can throw one over them mountains over there, too.
Did Favre throw one faster than that? He probably did, right? But
yeah, day one when he showed up at camp and was zipping balls at Sterling Sharp, and Gruden had to yell at him to take it easy.
Right. But it's just pretty cool that in the next-gen stats era, Jordan Love is at the top of the list. So when we say arm talent, that's what we're talking about, obviously. Yeah, Jen Wright. Damn, I thought Favre threw hard. That throw, and I wish I could keep it up on the screen for you guys, but I know how this is going to happen. They're going to hit us with a copyright and say we're still in a TB copy, and they want our 32 cents we made off this broadcast. Okay, so, but you guys can tell I'm a little irritated today, can't you? It's flowing today. Yeah, but that throw, man, nose down, overtime. And what's so cool when you go back and watch that play, especially from the end zone cam, is you can see the DB trying to bait him. He's barely taking a step over, and he does a good job. It's like he baited Jordan to throw right into that. He just didn't think Jordan was going to break out the laser beam on him. So really cool, man. And Tucker Kraft, hell of a catch, too. Obviously, it doesn't happen without Tucker making that grab. Let's see here. What else we got on Twitter? So here's a tweet from Christian Watson's dad. I like seeing this. He said, and it's just kind of a long message. I'm going to read it, though. Tazim on Twitter, or on X, I should say, Christian's dad, said, Packers Nation, first and foremost, let me share that a large majority of you have reached out with positive vibes, support, and well wishes for Scoot to such an overwhelming degree that I certainly can and will no longer waste my time with the negative minority. Blocks will be instantaneous for them moving forward. Good for you, bro. Good for you. No more dialogue, he said. So life was never promised as an easy venture for any of us, but we truly believe for those who live it and treat people the right way, whatever the journey, it will be worth it. Christian is in great spirits after what you all certainly must know was a supremely disappointing way to end his season. However, he's ready to attack this rehabilitation and return to the field bigger, faster, and stronger than ever. We all thank you for your kind words, meditations, prayers, etc. I love that he covers all that too, man. Like, one thing I've noticed about him is he doesn't care about your belief system.
Yep.
Right? to me, it's like it's family, it's protecting each other, and who cares what everybody thinks, right?
Yep.
And return, yeah. So he said, meditations, prayers, etc. Christian himself also sends his sincere appreciation and will be cheering his teammates on to this first leg of the journey to New Orleans. As for Scoot, this is merely a minor detour in the road to a new and even better chapter for the Freak. You got a picture of them there together. I think that's absolutely awesome. That Christian's focused on, hey, look, whatever we can do to help the team get to New Orleans, that's the top priority. And you know what that means to him. It means probably if they'll allow him to travel with the team, we know surgery sometimes won't let you fly, but he's going to be in those receivers' ears. He's going to be there helping every step of the way, whether it's encouraging or, like I said, schematics, whatever it may be. But again, taking a look at a former NFL player there and Christian's dad, that's what cracks me up about the keyboard warriors. I just love to see them walk up to him on game day in the parking lot at Lambeau and say some of the stuff they tweet. It
never going to happen.
Hilarious.
Never going to happen. They don't want that smoke. Nope. They're just going to sit behind the screen and hide, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, Papa Scoot there, I think handling it very well, and it was a great statement, right? I think it sums everything up, and positivity is where you want to be when you're in a situation like this. You have to have a positive mindset when you're dealing with adversity, and that's not just football, that's life in general, right? And it's good to see that Christian is got his head screwed on straight at this moment, and he's got a good support system around him. And like I had said, man, if anyone can come back from this type of thing, it's probably Christian Watson. He's no stranger to rehab, unfortunately. But this would be, the first major injury, I think, of his career. Everyone throws shade at him and talks about him being injury prone or whatever. But, in my memory, this is the first significant major type of injury that he's had to deal with. So hopefully things go well with the surgery and he heals up.
Yeah. Holmes MD1, love you, Scoot. Get well soon. We got Joyce Martha. Fantastic, Dad. Amen to that. Jen Wright, I feel so bad for that kid. Such a great person and teammate. And Brett Rogers in the chat says, I remember when he was out for the Atlanta game that I went to, and Scoot was the entire wide receiver room energy that game. I mean, it helps having those teammates on the sideline. It really does. I think that's it's very important. Very important, man, for sure. So, all right, let's move it along here. What else we got? Let me see if we got anything else on Twitter we wanted to hit on. I think we're all caught up on Twitter. Good deal. So there's that. Now we can start to dive into the Eagles conversation here, Tim. Freddie in the chat says Musgrave at wide receiver ? I think there's a chance you see him fill that void a little bit. I think that's his strength, would be playing wide receiver as opposed to a traditional inline attached Y tight end, right?
Bring it. We might see some of this again.
Musgrave stayed on his feet.
Exactly. And again, when it comes to Musgrave, I think he's been a little bit underwhelming, but obviously injuries have detoured him from day one. And Tucker Kraft has just played so darn well that it's easy for Musgrave to kind of fade back into the background, right? They showed a lot of 12 personnel on Sunday. The 12 personnel bunch nasty X out of the gun was really cool to see because they actually had Musgrave lined up on the outside of that bunch. So he was essentially playing wide receiver, albeit we're always going to identify it as you because we want people to know when a tight end is being specifically utilized in specific formations. But I think you'll see more of that as well. I really do. Don't be surprised if he gets a couple end rounds too. I know Matt loves those. That's that. If when you run an end around and people key in on Jaden Reed, like you've seen Jaquan Brisker jump back outside and knew exactly where it was going. If you use Musgrave on that motion, let's say you're in a bunch nasty X, right? You motion Reed over out of bunch nasty X, and then you bring Musgrave back. I just about guarantee you Brisker is not going to kick back outside. It was more of them keying in on Reed because that's been our end around guy. Now, just don't do it on short down situations, please. Short yard situations. I would greatly appreciate that. So, as Drew says here, I don't mind end arounds, just not on fourth down, please, for the love of God, right? Yeah. All right, let's see if we can dive in now, Tim, to the NFL Pro preview here just a touch and give you guys this point spread information we were talking about. So obviously it's going to be played with a 3:30 Central kickoff, 4:30 Eastern in Philly, Lincoln Financial Field. I haven't looked at the weather forecast yet, but according to DraftKings Sportsbook, the Eagles are 4.5-point favorites right now. The over-under is set at 45.5 points. The juice is on the Packers and the money line at plus 185. All right, so obviously the Packers are going into this game underdogs, and rightfully so. When we look at the team overview, if you will, matchups here, and see who's got the advantage. Overall passing efficiency, the Packers offense is number 7 in the league. The passing defense and overall efficiency for the Eagles is number 2. So that's a 3-star advantage in the passing game. The Eagles defense against the Packers passing offense, 3-star advantage goes to the Eagles. Now, I want to say this. There's many people 3-4 weeks into the season, we're literally running victory laps that the Fangio system is dead. The Eagles defense is horrible. Again, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Fangio is an old head. He's been in this game a long time, and he figured it out once again. He's got one of the top defenses in the league, no doubt. Overall rushing efficiency, the Packers offense is 8th. Well, guess what? The Eagles defense is 5th, according to Next Gen Stats. They get a 1-star advantage in the running game. Pressure rate, however, the Eagles are not good at applying pressure, evidently, here. They're ranked 27th, and the Packers offense is 10th best at handling that pressure. We got a 3-star advantage there. So it sounds like they're probably not a blitz-heavy team. We'll have to look at the analytics. Maybe they are blitz-heavy and they're just not hitting home. But overall, the Eagles have the advantage with their defense against the Packers offense, according to Next Gen Stats. Keep in mind, last week, this was flipped. Right, the advantage was all the Packers, and the disadvantage was the Bears. A lot of things can happen on any given Sunday. Tim, you got anything you want to add here to the Packers offense against the Eagles defense?
Yeah, we're going to win. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to stay extremely positive. We are going to not run jet sweeps on short yardage situations. We're going to lean on our run game, and we're going to get it done, even if it's by a field goal. We're going to get the dub. That's how I feel. But I mean, I look at these numbers and I don't understand. I mean, I guess I can understand why people think there's no chance in hell that the Packers get this win, but I also look at it and feel like we have every opportunity to go in there and beat this team. We lost to them by 5 points in Brazil in week 1. I think we match up relatively well. But looking at our injury report, it is going to be an uphill battle for sure without the personnel that we're missing. And then, like Jen Wright says, hey, we got a kicker this time. We didn't have a kicker in week 1. Got us one now, though, don't we?
I was watching the game last night when we scored that when Scoot caught that touchdown. I'm kind of working on stuff for the pod, and I got it on in the background, and I hear Narveson hits the extra point. I'm like, God, it felt like it was forever ago that Narveson was our kicker.
Right.
So thank goodness. Again, if Goody's listening out there, if anybody who knows Goody is listening, let's re-sign McManus tomorrow, please.
Yeah. Why don't you just give him some money while you're giving Zach Tom some money? Just get it over with. Sign those guys. Let's go.
Listen, give him the keys to Lodge Kohler, to Hinterland, all that. You know what I mean? If he wants to go ice skating at any moment, let him do his thing over there on the rink. Whatever that dude needs, give him the keys to Green Bay right now, please. Beg him. Josh Vallantingham said, did Josh Jacobs get hurt or was he pulled out against the Bears? It's my understanding, Josh, that he was pulled out against the Bears. Tim, you didn't hear anything about him getting banged up.
No,
right?
I don't think it was an injury related thing. I think it was just a, time to end the day for him. And again, we've got the depth to be able to do it, right? We saw a great game from Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. So, but yeah, he did not get hurt as far as I know.
Yeah, definitely. Demetrius in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says Kenny and Rashawn need to be more effective. I agree with half of that. Listen, they both got to show up. Don't get me wrong. This is not the week for Rashawn to take a week off, but Rashawn leads the team in pressures. He leads the team in sacks. He leads the team in run stops. Rashawn, and that's with him. You could tell playing a little more conservative this year, keying in on stopping the run. And Halfley hinted at that, and everybody laughed and just want to kind of shrug it off. But Gary had a low-key good year, in my opinion, if you know what to look for on the tape. Kenny, that's a different story. I can't. It's one of those things, Tim, as your mama said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. I love Kenny. I really do. I think he's a leader. I think he's a locker room presence. I think the teammates absolutely adore him.
Thick.
It's when he's had his opportunities, and don't get me wrong, Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark have both been double teamed a lot this year, right? You got to take that into consideration. But you would expected more out of Kenny this year. And the only reason that I'm pressing into that a little bit more here in the latter, part of the season is because you go watch TJ Slayton handle double teams too. And TJ Slayton he's handling business. And it just seems like Kenny hasn't been there. A lot more touch spine going on with Kenny, don't get me wrong. And that's going to reduce the numbers, the results. But yeah, we need that 3-tech, boys. We need it this offseason. We got to go find that true 3-tech. We got to get it. Got to have it. So, yeah, Holmes just got the the vision of McManus out there figure skating on the ice ring at Titletown, right? I'm just saying, man, pull out all the stops, right? Jen Wright says, hopefully Brenton Cox Jr. will be back. Yeah, he's been a big factor. He actually leads the team in pressure percentage, albeit a lot less snaps than Gary, but he has a higher pressure percentage. He's played pretty good. That foot injury looked a little weird. Did you get a chance to see that, Tim? How he?
No, I didn't see that. Did he get stepped on, or did he?
No, it was like a pass rush, and as he rushed the quarterback, he's working his rush, and his left foot hits, and it's almost like his toe got hung, and his ankle kind of went vertical and wobbly a little bit, like almost like you rolled an ankle or something.
Okay,
but it might have been some kind of stress fracture or something in the foot. You got like 500,000 bones in your feet. People don't know that. They're tiny little bones. Probably something along that line, I would imagine. But again, I'm not a doctor, as Coach LaFleur would say. So we just nor do we play one on TV either, right?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Thank you, Coach. Packers Kingdom, is Derek Harmon a 3-tech? I'll be honest with you. I don't know who Derek Harmon is. Again, if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know it.
He said,
who? And what's crazy, Tim, he might be the best interior defensive lineman in the league, or in college, wherever he's at. We're trying to hold off on the college talk. We pressed in a little bit last week because we had a little downtime. I got roasted, so we backed off a little bit. We're going to get on through the rest of the year, then we'll jump into draft season for sure. He's saying from Oregon. We'll make sure we check him out, man.
Okay.
I'm sure if you're mentioning him, Packers Kingdom, he's probably at least in the first 3 rounds in terms of mock draft or the consensus big board, right? So, we'll make sure we check him out. I know it seemed like Oregon had 2 defensive linemen we had mentioned before, so we'll make sure we check all that out. Let's move on to the Packers-Eagles, the Eagles offense against the Packers defense. Okay, let's go overall passing efficiency. The Eagles are ranked 9th in the league. The Packers defense is ranked 3rd. I'm going to say that again. According to Next Gen Stats, overall passing efficiency, Jeff Hafley's defense is ranked 3rd against the pass. Okay. Now, what's crazy is if you go into passing yards per attempt, right, on the team ranking system, I want to say they're closer to the 10 mark in that category. But the Packers' rush defense is like 3rd in yards per carry. Well, you see here it's kind of flipped. Next Gen Stats sees their passing efficiency better on defense than their run game, sitting at the number 8 spot. But nonetheless, Packers get a 2-star advantage in the passing game with their defense on the field against the Eagles offense. So that gives you a little bit of hope. If you can jump up early, press into the run, and take them out of their running game, in which they have the advantage here according to Next Gen Stats. They have the 8th, the Packers have the 8th overall best rushing defense efficiency, and the Eagles are number 2 in that regard. So they get a 3-star advantage there. And then, of course, pressure rate, the Packers defense is sitting in the 20 spot, and the Eagles at handling pressure on offense are 18th. So they get a 1-star advantage over the Packers there in the pressure rate game. Isn't it wild though? We're ranked better in pressure rate according to Next Gen Stats than the Eagles, who are 27th. It almost makes you think there's something to that. Hey, let's stop trying to go crazy, pinning our ears back and getting the quarterback. And let's kind of play the defense for what it is. Keep everything in front of us, limit the explosive plays. And you say, Clayton, well, we need more pressure on the quarterback. That would be great. The Eagles are doing just fine not getting pressure on the quarterback, according to Next Gen Stats.
It would be great if we could get pressure with 4 on the quarterback.
Yes. Which we did for a good period of time this season. Remember when everybody was talking about, holy cow, they're 6th in the league with pressure with 4, right? So it's kind of came and went in waves for sure. But anything you want to add there to their offense against our defense according to Next Gen Stats, Tim?
Well, the question mark is Jalen Hurts, right? I went over to to the Eagles website. I can't find anything on the they don't have an injury report yet posted on their website. But their backup is Kenny Pickett. So we remember Kenny Pickett. Spent some time in Pittsburgh. We're familiar with him a little bit. And I think regardless if Hurts plays or not, I think the philosophy should stay the same, right, Clay? Don't get caught, over pursuing and, like you said, pinning your ear back and, rushing 5 or 6 too much. Let's hope we can maintain our edges and get home with 4 and try and keep Hurts in that pocket and let our coverage do what it does,
I'm kind of combing through Twitter real quick, but if you'll read that comment there, I know people were mentioning he's been in protocol for weeks. Is that what it says?
Yeah, we got Dr. Holmes in the chat here. Hurts has been in the protocol for weeks. So that being true probably lends some evidence that maybe he's working his way out of the protocol finally. And last week was basically a bye for Philly. They rested a bunch of their top players. So we'll see. I don't know. Extra week of rest. Maybe Hurts is good to go. It looks like he's going to play. I don't see why he would miss the game unless he doesn't clear the protocol, right?
Right.
That would be the only thing.
Yeah. And I think this was their plan all along, right? So I just searched Jalen Hurts injury on Twitter. Listen, I apologize. Something inappropriate pops up. You know how Twitter is in these streets. Boy, you never know what's going to fly. You could type in those 2 words, 3 words, and something pop up about an alien in China. You know what I mean? You got to be careful with this stuff. So this just a couple tweets right off the top here. Today we'll find out if quarterback Jalen Hurts is able to practice, and let's not go crazy or act stupid or feel like the world's coming to an end if later today when the injury report comes out that Jalen Hurts was listed as limited. So you've got Eagle fans obviously preparing kind of how we prepare for that portion of our fan base. Like, everybody please calm the hell down. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. So here you got the Philadelphia Inquirer, a couple points here. Eagles news injury updates on Jalen Hurts. And Jaws, you guys know Ron Jaworski, big Eagles guy, calls Jordan Love overrated. Put that on the bulletin board.
Yeah. Receivables, let's go.
Love to see that. Let's see what else we got here. No, I got to watch with the podcast. People will say we're stealing their content. Let's see. Nothing else really there. Those are the 2 that really popped up. So, again, it sounds like we're going to find out today when the injury report drops. There's a decent chance he's going to be limited. Now, if he's out and he's still in concussion protocol, did you see the hit that got him injured, Tim?
I did not. No.
If I remember correctly, you guys correct me in the chat here if I'm wrong. I want to say he was scrambling left or trying to move out of the pocket, got tackled kind of from behind and goes down. Just face first. And
head to the turf. Yeah.
One of those. And usually you see it, the head snap back. Now, with a concussion, the way I understand it is it's the brain, it's a concussion. It's being concussed in one direction or the other, right? That it's that stop. Some people have described it as the brain smacking the skull. I don't know if it's quite to that level, but it's just that abrupt stop. So it did get me thinking, like, is it more dangerous for the frontal lobe of the brain? Here we're trying to sound like doctors now, right? When you land face down as opposed, to where the cerebellum is, in the back. I do know that, right? A little bit of medical school.
So you're using those big words, and since I don't know what they mean, I'm going to be offended by it.
MD, Holmes MD1, go come here and go, Clayton. That's not where the cerebellum is. It's in your ankle. What the hell are you talking about, right? So
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
See, though, again, man, first and foremost, when it comes to CTE and this stuff, we want Jalen Hurts to be well, right? I honestly would rather him play in this game, be 100% healthy, and let's go, hey, let's get it. Let's see if we're good enough to run with the best of the best, right?
Yep. And if he doesn't go and you get Kenny Pickett, I would imagine it'd be a heavy dose of Saquon in the run game. I don't know how much they trust Kenny Pickett throwing the ball, but they've got some targets, man. A.J. Brown and you've got who's their tight end? They've got Dallas Goedert, I think, is their tight end. So there's weapons. Regardless, Devontae Smith comes to mind. So we've got to account for a lot of Philly weapons, regardless if Jalen Hurts is out there or not.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Turtle says either way, Hurts is coming off 3 weeks, no playing time. That's a real thing, man. If my quarterback hadn't played in 3 weeks, I would be concerned. If Jordan had been out for the last 3 weeks going into the playoffs, I'd be going, man, I just hope he ain't rusty. That's exactly how we'd be looking at it, talking about it. So Professor Cake says, Dr. Clay. Yeah, Dr. Clayton. Drink you a 2-liter of Mountain Dew, Derek. Right?
We got to get that one back.
Oh yeah, get you a shot a double shot of Wild Turkey 101, and we'll see you in the morning. All right, that's Dr. Clayton, and that's what you'll end up looking like if you listen to Dr. Clayton. I promise you that. Drew D in the chat. In order to pass the concussion protocol, don't they need to pass review from an independent neurologist? That's the way I understand it, Drew. They try to remove it from the team's hands as much as possible and have someone independently come in, right? And that way the team isn't just held liable and it's like, oh, the team's trying to rush him back. Now we've seen on the field sometimes, boy, oh boy, people run right back. They've got people on the sideline. They changed that rule, Tim, where they put somebody on the sideline watching it too. So if you see somebody wobbly, they can step in and they can override the entire coaching staff. But we have seen a couple times in the NFL over the last few years where it's like, where was the neurologist? That dude's obviously concussed. So obviously that's something that'll come into play too.
Anything else? That's like the final portion, right? Because you've got your regular physicians and your process that you're going through the protocol, but then I think one of the final steps is the independent review from the independent staff. So we'll see. Definitely.
Wolfman, good to see you in here, buddy. He says, do you think playing teams that you lost to earlier in the year is an edge in any way? I personally do, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't mean it's like a slam dunk. You're going to play better. We may come out and lose by more points, right? But typically what a team will do when they're preparing for another team, and this information may be a little outdated, but books I've read in the past, it talks about NFL coaching staffs prepping for their upcoming opponent. They like to look at their last 2 head-to-head matchups and the team's previous 4-game saturation. So what LaFleur is probably looking at is weeks, let's say 15, 16, 17, and 18 to kind of see, all right, here's what they're doing schematically. And then they'll definitely go back and watch how Philly played us in week 1. But the issue with that is, let's say, and I can't specifically say, well, let's say the crossers, right? The crossers really helped the Packers stay in that game. So let's say Philly comes out and they go, you know what, man, they really hammered those crossers on us, right? That we need to take that away. Let's say that's their game plan. Now let's flip to LaFleur. LaFleur's looking at that going, man, we really nailed them with those crossers, right? So what if LaFleur presses into those crossers and now Philly's game planning to stop those crossers, right? That's where you can hit that stalemate. So typically what happens is if one team wins and the other doesn't, that team who won has as much pressure on them, probably more pressure on them than the team that lost, because they're looking up going, do we continue doing the same thing that worked, or do we know they're going to make an adjustment and we're going to kind of deviate away from that? And again, Tim, you're talking about 17 weeks ago. That's a long time. These are 2 different teams now,
Yeah, absolutely. And I would think that looking at the week 18 film on Philly is probably going to be less important than maybe the previous 3 games out of that saturation, because you're not really seeing a lot. I'm sure they didn't want to put a lot on tape last week, just like our theory is about Coach LaFleur and what we put on tape against the Bears. So I think you're right. It's going to be that week 18 game, and then that week 1, that matchup that we had in Brazil with them. I would think you're gonna do some film review, but you're not going to spend too much time there, because that's not the team you're probably gonna see, right? You're not going to see a lot of that those same looks. You may, but I'd be more interested in, like you said, like weeks 14 through 17, kind of looking at those plays.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, Wolfman. He just thanked us for that answer. Yeah, that's, if you want to check out a book that's really, really good, Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0 by Pat Kerwin is an excellent book. Tim got it right there. There's some versions still floating around out there where you can get a DVD companion DVD with it, which is kind of cool. I've got mine. I got my original playbook version. I got this one in 2010. Boy, there's some coffee stains in here. Right? There's my version. Okay.
Holy cow. You got nice.
Yeah. It is absolutely awesome. You can get it in audio book form. At least you could before. I had it saved as an MP3. I need to go see if I can run that down, because if I got it, I don't know if I could get in legal trouble sharing that around or not. But that was another thing, was a digital download. So I've listened to it probably 6 or 7 times just on loop, going all the way through the book. Really, really good stuff there. That's the type of material that I study to learn the answer I just gave you. I didn't make any of this up, right? This is just, that came from Pat Kerwin, and he talks a lot about, I think he talks about Big Bill Parcells in the book a lot. He talks about the difference between East Coast play calling and West Coast play calling. Really, really cool. dynamic that they added in there. So you're welcome, buddy. Thank you for the question there. Let's see here. Judy in the chat. Eagles OC Kellen Moore is also shopping for head coaching jobs. So hopefully he's distracted. That's a real thing, Tim. When you get these coaching staffs that are all of a sudden getting asked to be interviewed, and the rule is now, the way I understand it, they have to wait till after the divisional round before they can interview. But boy, oh boy, those teams can still call them. So I could see that being a bit of a distraction too if Kellen Moore's potentially getting a head coaching gig, because he's available. Many people thought he was going to be the next head coach about 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yep.
And it seems like it always passes him up, and then they get canned with the Chargers. Now he's with the Eagles. They're doing good. What do you think about that? You think that's a real thing?
I do. And I think I hope he stays the hell away from Chicago. We don't want him we don't want him in the north. I think, I got a lot of respect for Kellen Moore as a play caller. We saw what he was able to do in Dallas for a while there. They had a couple runs, and obviously what's going on in Philly is pretty miraculous, the way that they're able to move the ball. So, but he'd be a first. That'd be a first for him as a head coach. So I'm hoping that experiment doesn't happen in the NFC North. Maybe he'll get a job somewhere else, hopefully. I hear Jacksonville's looking for a coach. So good luck, Kellen Moore. Go to Jacksonville. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, definitely. Holmes MD1 says, what was the name of that book? I stepped away. Take Your Eye Off the Ball. Let's see if you can see it here. You can do a screen grab. And again, the newer versions look different than this, but it's Take Your Eye Off the Ball. It looks like that right there. Yeah.
Man, are we getting any royalties off this free promotion here for Mr. Kerwin? I hope he gets a couple more sales here.
Mr. Kerwin said, that show sucks. I'm not giving you any royalties. For the 2 sales that you make for my book. To me, it's all about obviously spreading that knowledge around that people have shared. And again, I'm horrible at communicating. I'm a bad communicator. You go read that book, you'll get way more out of it than me trying to explain anything that's in it. I promise you that. Joseph in the chat says, I think that first game of the season is particularly not telling in terms of trying to get a read on this game. I can see that point too. And the reason being is, like, going into that game, Tim, I remember one of our talking points was, listen, this is a new defensive coordinator, right? This is Vic Fangio, who was with Miami, is now with Philly. We don't know exactly how he's going to use his personnel. So from a coaching staff, let's back up. Talked about scouting. Do you go back and watch the Miami tape, right? I'm talking about the week going into the week 1 matchup. Are we watching Miami tape, what he did down there, and then also watching Philly tape because most of their key starters are back on defense? You've got to kind of play that out. What they do, I think what Joseph's saying here, and I don't want to put words into his mouth, and it does make sense. You're probably going to lean on the previous 4-game saturation more than that week 1 matchup and kind of see what are they doing now. Here's the problem with that. Jalen Hurts has been out. So you probably got to go back a little bit further. So you might want to – I could see LaFleur going, hey, you guys break off through their last 4-game saturation. You guys take the 4 weeks before that, like weeks 11, 12, 13, and 14, right? That's probably how they're approaching that, and I wouldn't blame them one bit. So that makes sense?
Absolutely.
All right. Demetrius in the chat. I hope we have Dobbs, Cox, Williams, and Quay back, and they all need top-notch play. We need to win the turnover battle. Amen to that, man. Not only do we need them back, I'm glad you specified. Everybody's got to be on their A game, man, to beat these Eagles, right? And I think Quay's going to be hungry if he is out there. I really do. And he started to show promise, man. Some of his best football we've seen right before he got hurt.
Before he got hurt, yeah.
Yep.
So true. And Rome. Hopefully Rome's good to go. I don't know what he's dealing with illness wise, but hopefully he's feeling better, because we absolutely need Romeo Dobbs in this game.
Yeah. Nick McSwain says, I bet Ben Johnson will be the next Bears head coach. That'd be the smart move, at least. Yeah, if you were to ask me, Nick, who do you not want to be the head coach in Chicago? To me, it's Ben Johnson. I want him to leave Detroit, but go out of the North and never come back. That's what I want, okay? Not even to visit, not even for the holidays. If you're saying, all right, who would you like to see the Bears hire? You mentioned Kellen Moore, Tim, that you hope Kellen Moore doesn't end up in Chicago. Part of me wonders, is Kellen Moore's offensive approach a little outdated? Because the last time he had great success was obviously with Dallas. They go to the Chargers, they struggle. Now he goes to Philly and they're having success again. But man, you talk about just loaded with talent there, right? Which some would argue that Chicago has a lot of talent in their wide receiver room too.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I think I'm on board with you. I'd rather Kellen Moore not go to Chicago. I damn sure don't want Ben Johnson there. Now, with that being said, if I was being realistic here, and I'm I'm doing the head coaching hire for Chicago, Ben Johnson's at the top of my list. Forget this Rex Ryan. Mike McCarthy would be close too, to be honest with you. I'm a big Mike fan. I think Mike is excellent. I think he's done a good job in Dallas, given that absolute circus he has to deal with down there. They won 13 games last year, and he almost made the playoff. He was in the playoff hunt even without a starting quarterback this year, But to me, Ben Johnson's the one dude I don't want in Chicago because, man, he's got Detroit humming right now, Tim.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you're right. There is some pieces there in Chicago. They're just not being utilized. You know what I mean? They've got I don't want to do too much Bears talk here, but I think there's validity to the statement that there's talent on that offense. They just can't figure out how to get it humming,
Mm-hmm. Joseph in the chat says, you don't have to go home, Ben, but you got to get the heck up out of here. The North, of course. So I'm on board with that. All right, let's see what else we got. Anything else in the chat you want to hit on here, Tim? We're about ready to wrap up. We're at the 45-minute mark. Holy cow, man. It's just fun, dude. When we just hang out with the chat and answer football questions and we don't have Music Mary in here. Notice AFAM hasn't woke up yet, right?
He's still sleeping. Joyce Martha in the chat says, I question how good Moore is. I don't know if she's talking about DJ Moore or if she's talking about Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, right. We can answer them both. Kellen Moore, you never know how someone like Kellen Moore is going to react. And even Ben Johnson. There's been a lot of great coaches, guys, that they were excellent coordinators and then they get the head coaching gig and they suck, right? Because head coach is a different animal. Same thing. Now, if we switch to DJ Moore, that talk, I think DJ Moore is a great receiver. I really do. I think he's good. But I think the type of offense they're running in Chicago, I mean, we've seen it, Tim, and they hit on a couple on us on Sunday. It's throw behind the line, throw behind the line, throw behind the line. There is definitely no, Matt LaFleur scheming people open there in Chicago. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And, now I'm backtracking here. I'm thinking maybe we do want more down there.
Right. You know what I mean?
And I don't think Mike's going to take that job. I think, do you think at this stage in his career, Mike McCarthy wants to inherit that dumpster fire in Chicago?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He still has a house in Green Bay. He loves Green Bay. Like that's where his family's going to be. He said when his football life is over. I think he wants to be a head coach, and if Chicago's the only offer, he'd probably take it, right? Yeah. Now, if there's 3 other teams lined up, I could see him going a different route that way. But when you say dumpster fire, I look at the roster, right? And I think
as far as the front office, that's
right.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the personnel. Yeah. I'm talking about the knuckleheads they got running the books.
And that's a big deal. And it's like, what did I just say 45 seconds ago? You get Mike out of that circus in Dallas, he probably has success somewhere else, which he's already had success in Dallas, in my opinion. Yeah. Hasn't won a Super Bowl, obviously, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been successful. You go to Chicago and you don't have anybody at the top that's a football guy making football decisions. That's tough. That's a tough look, man. It really is. Yeah. So you could go get was it John Robinson that was with Tennessee? You could make a hire like that he came from Green Bay's line of thinking, right? Kind of came from that general manager tree. Hire him as your general manager or someone from the Packers front office as general manager and bring Mike McCarthy in. That's going to go right back to the way it was and gel right up. Don't be surprised you look up in 2 or 3 years and Big Mike's got that team humming. I hope it doesn't happen, though. I hope they completely screw up the hire like they always do, and I hope they never put a football guy in charge at the top. Detroit did that, and I can't remember who it was they put in place. I remember them talking about they have a football guy that they brung in to run the show, right? I want to say, was it Spielman or somebody that was involved too? I can't remember the name with Detroit, but they did it the right way, man. And they got a coach. Listen, whether you love or hate Dan Campbell, you go back and watch some of those Hard Knocks when they were one of the worst teams in the league and watching him put that together. When he kept saying, guys, I need you to trust me. You got to trust me. All I do is think about you guys. Got to trust me. I'm going to put you in a position to win. And he talked about putting the pads on in practice. He said, if we could get to where we need to be without it, I wouldn't put you guys through those padded practices, but we got to do it. We have to do it because, we have to get some kind of live tackling experience. And one thing about Detroit, it feels like they tackle really well, And that's just one tip of the iceberg of what Dan Campbell's done. You know,
absolutely. And you talk about love or hate him. I hate him when we play him,
right?
But you got to respect the dude's game, right? You've got to respect that approach, and he did. He flipped things around pretty quickly once he took over as a head coach there.
Yep. Jen Wright said Detroit may collapse if Johnson leaves. I could see that being a thing. I really could. That's happened before in the past. The Packers took a slight setback because everybody poached their offensive coaches. Remember that?
Yep.
So that could be a real thing for sure. Nick McSwain, this is the last one we'll get out of here. He says, I feel like Aaron Glenn isn't getting as much recognition as Ben Johnson, but their D performing despite the injuries has been more impressive than the offense, in my opinion. I think that's a valid point, Nick. They've gotten the most out of the least in terms of the Detroit Lions defense. The issue I have there is I'm not big on defensive head coaches. There's also some rumbling about our boy KOC in Minnesota, Tim. They're saying
I'm hearing they want to. There's teams proposing trades,
right? And
the reason give up some capital there.
The reason I think that's happening is I think he's entering the last year of his contract, right? And there haven't been contract negotiations yet, and they're looking at B-Flow's about to get poached, their defensive coordinator, and that defense Minnesota has been stout too, So I think that what's going on there is teams are going, you know what? If there's a team that we could get a solid head coach from, it's probably Minnesota, because you could see ownership going, you know what? Yeah, we'll trade KOC for 3 first-round picks, right? And now we'll promote B-Flow to head coach. Brian Flores is who I'm talking about. That's what they always called him in the Patriots. I apologize. And then promote one of the offensive assistants to run the same exact offense KOC's been running. But me personally, I'm big on the whole offensive coach as head coach. That's just my personal preference. So I think that's more successful. So, yeah, there you go. Drew D says, I remember that too. He says, John Gruden was traded for a first-round pick. Yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
Yeah. It doesn't happen very, very often, but when it does, man, like in that case too, like Gruden was the head coach for the Raiders, if I remember correctly, and they made it to the Super Bowl. And Al Davis traded him that next year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then they promoted, I can't think of his name, Bill Callahan, Coach Callahan, right? He gets promoted to head coach for the Raiders. I can't believe I remember this stuff. I can't remember anything.
I remember them Raiders teams. They were pretty good. That was the Rich Gannon era, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, what happens? John Gruden brings Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl to face the Raiders, right? If I remember correctly, I think they faced them that year. And they absolutely boat raced them. That's going to bother me. Before we can wrap up, Tim, let me get your parting thoughts. I got to figure that out. Let's see who they play.
Oh man, Josh Martin in the chat. Sean Payton was traded for a first also. Not to get too far off topic, but as long as we're talking about coaches, can we talk about Sean Payton just reversing tragedy in Denver and getting that team ready to play every week and taking a young quarterback and making the playoffs? That's pretty impressive to me. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, Denver was arguably the laughing stock of the league, last year. Especially in the AFC. And, Sean Payton came in there and turned it around, man. It's pretty impressive. But I do think this is that time of year where it's kind of fun to watch, right? The coaching rumors start. You start hearing about, in the next couple of weeks here, we'll be hearing about interviews and we'll get all kinds of speculation from the talking heads. And it's going to be fun.
Yeah, nailed it, man.
Oh, you found it. There it is.
2003, yeah. So they boat raced them 48-21. And they said that Gruden in practice that week played quarterback in practice for that defense and showed them exactly what Rich Gannon was going to try to do. Everything from the specifics of a sluggo route to what concepts they were going to try to hit in that Tampa 2 defense. And lo and behold, man, the defenders, if you watch that America's game, they were like, he was right. We knew what they were going to call as they were calling it because Gruden knew that entire playbook. So, but yeah, they ended up beating them 48-21, absolutely boat raced them. So there you go. There's your Raiders, Tampa Bay Buccaneers talk for today. Tim, I need to get out of here. My throat's closing up. I'm going to go take some medicine, take a little nap. I feel like I've been at it for a while. The plan is we will be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time for PTA Live. Appreciate your time, bub.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to it. Hope you feel better, man. Get some rest.
Yeah,
we'll
appreciate
be back to do it again tonight, man.
Definitely. If we get feeling a little bit better, might have a daddy soda for the night stream. That'll
there you go.
Ease it off a little bit too. A homemade cough syrup. You know what I mean? So everybody have a great day. Thank you all so much. Special shout out to Josh Martin. Thank you for the super chat, bub. Thanks everybody in our Patreon group. If you want to join that, go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Got an awesome community growing over there. If you're in one of those 3 tiers, you'll be entered into a giveaway we're going to be doing in the post-game show for the Eagles game coming up this weekend on Sunday. We're going to be giving away an autographed picture of Carl Brooks blocking the kick, the first meeting against the Bears earlier this year, autographed by him, dated and signed the block. Really cool piece of memorabilia donated from Trevor and Anderson. Appreciate him doing that. So also, if you're a YouTube member, that gets you into that as well if you're a paid YouTube member. But just go with the cheapest on Patreon, one of the 3 tiers, and it's just a way for us to give back to those who are supporting the stream. So, Tim, thank you for your time. We'll see you tonight, buddy. Everybody have a great day. Talk to you soon.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.